Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu good afternoon, listeners. If you just give me a minute, let me share the video and I will start this program. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, listeners. It's me, Sulaiman Ben Suare, coming on Facebook Live. Today is the 14th, it's Wednesday, yeah? Wednesday, the 14th of July, 2021. The time just gone 20 minutes past 5 in the afternoon in Birmingham, England. I plan to do this brief, but I don't think it's going to be brief. There's so much to cover. Okay, ñu ñëw dellusiwaat suñu waxtaan bi, but I never planned to speak about this thing, but I have to just share a few minutes. It's about the sentence of Yankuba Touray, being found guilty of murder. It's quite important, but I'm just going to touch on it and we can go on to our original planned program. What we have to say is a proof that an aspect of our democracy is working. The independence of the judiciary is working. As we have seen in recent times, the verdicts that have come out. And it's something worth celebrating. If anyone said that there's no point fighting to remove Jammeh, today is a day to think about. The family of Korosise and the victims entirely, and the people that hold on to justice have something to hold on to today. And that's progress. And I always emphasize we have to work with what we got in order to make it better. We cannot just throw our towel and run away. There's nowhere to go. Gambia is ours and it's for us to fix Gambia. Nobody will do it for us. That's one aspect of it. The verdict have come out and justice have been served. And the victims, their families, and Gambia as a whole are better off. Today, the family of Yankuba, friends and family of Yankuba, have something to reflect on. It's going to be a very difficult day and very difficult times. But again, it's a lesson for entire humanity, Gambians for that matter, to learn when you, a lesson to learn. We all have responsibilities. And the responsibilities we have goes on to our families, to avoid a day like today. To avoid a day like today that Yankuba is facing today. But Yankuba had an opportunity after everything that had happened. Everything that had happened, Yankuba had an opportunity to do the right thing. Finally do the right thing. And in any way, that's what would have benefited him. To come out and speak about the truth, nothing absolutely. That would have benefited him. And that would not only benefit him, but would benefit the Gambia. Because Yankuba hold an opportunity there that he could have rescued Gambia in many ways, and I'm going to deliberate on that. If he had stood up with courage and said the right things, the truth, it would have saved us a lot. And we, Gambia, would have been better off with the truth. Not only directly to the victims, not only directly to the family of the Sise, Korosise's family, but to the entire nation. And I tell you why. I know Yankuba very much. We were in the army together. I was a private soldier, he was a junior NCO, he was a lance corporal. And we did a lot privately. And whoever knows Yankuba will tell you, He was not, I mean, he was a person who would not have hold anything against anyone, grudges or anything else. And who knows Yankuba then would tell you he was not capable of doing anything. He was not taken seriously for anything. He was known as a jovial person, or others might even call him a clown. I would not. He was an easygoing guy. And he was not a leader, he was a follower. He likes to be popular, and he was friendly. That was the Yankuba. And Yankuba finding himself in this school was actually because, again, the character he is. He was coopted in. It's not because of he's brave, he's going to do any difference, not because of he was intelligent, he's smart. No, the junta wanted a fifth person. They wanted a fifth person, and Edward has served time with Yankuba in Farafenni. I met them in Farafenni actually in 1993. They were all young officers from America. They served there. A friend of mine was serving there, Lieutenant Sane, who was their senior, I think was the deputy commander, and I can't remember the company commander. I found them there. We fraternized for a weekend. Edward, Peter, myself, Yankuba, Pasane, and others. We spent a weekend together, Friday, Saturday, and I left Sunday. It's someone I can really remember, and still now he was the same one. He was friendly to the wives of the others. I mean, he was just that person. Yankuba was coopted into the school. Anything that had happened in the school, Yankuba took part. He was not the architect or anything. Yankuba had to prove himself to be worthy as a contributor. I am not saying that he has not done things wrong or worse off or anything. No. I am qualifying something here and people will see that. Up to what had happened at Yankuba's house. Why do you think they select to take Koro or invite Koro at Yankuba's house? Why did they go to Edward's house? Why did they go to other councils' house? Why did not go to safe houses? They have safe houses they were using. They have safe houses in Cape Point. They have safe houses in Fajara. They could have used those safe houses. There was one safe house that was between the vice president's residence and the American embassy. There were so many secluded places they could have taken Koro. They wanted to kill Koro. They could have taken Koro to the bush. But they choose Yankuba's residence. Again, they know the character he is. They wanted to implicate him in it. He is one other member who was around. They have to do it alone, together. Now, everything done, the crimes and everything, Yankuba had an opportunity now to come and tell the truth. And to come and ask for forgiveness from all his victims and entire victims of this revolution. Not revolution, this rebellion. Or whatever you call it. Entire. Own up to responsibility. But that would have helped Gambians to reach to the justice for the rest of them. But Yankuba being the Yankuba he is, when the TRRC started, Yankuba had a three-way call with Yaya Jammeh and Edward. And again, they had control over him. They made him believe that they are not going to comply and nobody should. They pointed to this so-called immunity. And the other, what my mom used to say, lawyer Marseille, on social media and others calling him and saying things nonsense, you have immunity, prosecution that will come out of it. And being a coward he is, he never owned up to the right thing. That would have saved. Yankuba could have come out and explain exactly what happened at his house. Not only that, and everything that he took part on, or everything that he understood. That would have helped us a lot. But justice will always prevail. It's just a matter of time. Then it would have been smart for him to make sure he does the right thing. But he's a follower, he's not a leader, he lacked courage. But again, Gambians will understand when Edward manipulated him and everything. Edward decided to listen to the TRRC, understand the TRRC, how it works, and build in a strategy and come out. But as I always said, I have news for Edward. He's not going to get away. I have news for all of them. They will not get away. It's a matter of time. Wherever they get to, we will get to them. The long arm of the law will get to them. And let us remember, this is about justice. It's important. Forgiveness is another thing. But justice, we cannot promote impunity. We cannot, as civilized people. Even Allah does not promote impunity. Why should we promote impunity? People have to pay for the crimes they commit. And Yankuba could have said the truth and everything. And all that would be taken into consideration. And the most part of it, consideration for the forgiveness. Because if he would have helped the victims to get to heal quicker, because they will get the justice that they require from the entire groups. But he failed to do that. But today again, it's for Gambians to take hope in this, in the democracy we fought for. It's not perfect, but we will make it perfect. That's one. The justice is an aspect of it. And the legislature and every form of it, we will work together and ensure that, and make sure that, and guarantee that, and crystallize that in the Gambia, justice will always prevail. And freedom would always be within us. And that peace will be guaranteed. That's what Gambia we will fight for. We've been fighting for and will continue to fight for. We have our differences, be in tribe or party or whatever color it is. But we will always, take that flag, raise that flag, and we will always be behind that flag. And that's one flag, which is the Gambia flag. And people were saying that, can Barrow pardon Yankuba? Let Barrow go ahead. I will welcome. Let Barrow go ahead. If Barrow thinks that he can turn around and continue abusing our intelligence and abusing the people, and people turn around to say, but at least Barrow doesn't kill other things, that would be one of the biggest abuses he meted on us again. And let him go ahead and do it. I know people suggest that you have the power to pardon. That power comes with responsibility. He pardoned him. And we wait and see who is going to pardon him. Barrow. That justice will be served. And will be served to all of these people. And again, that's a nail in the coffin. For a lot of conspirators, or whatever you call them. The Gambia we have is a Gambia that we will maintain, rule of law and good governance. That's not what they want. They want us to believe, people to believe that we cannot be, civilized people. We cannot be a civilized nation. We cannot be among civilized nations. That's not true. We have to, come out and prove that we are not the people they want us to be. That minority, we have to silence them. And this is the best way to silence them. Today, and I say it, they already try to drown it because of what the so-called executive, I'm not saying I'm not saying APRC, but the executive of the APRC having a deal with Barrow is not going well in many quarters of the APRC. This verdict is not going well. I am not going to say to the APRC, no. It's not going well in the people, Barrow, Jammeh and his, smokeheads, and Barrow himself, because these are things they don't want. But one thing I have to tell Gambians, they released this audio, almost 2 years audio, when Rambo was taken to Jammeh saying, yes sir, yes sir. And to remind you I know it's a two years audio. If you listen to the audio, this audio was made because that's what the only way Jammeh can communicate to the entire APRC. It was when they were doing their so-called demonstration for Barrow to come back, if you can remember. This was before the 3 years journal. Now, I mean, saying that's why he was saying that you be law abiding. If you go there, don't be react to provocation. That's why I say, and ask yourself, why did they release it today and label it as Jammeh spoke? Spoke today. No, Jammeh is in a difficult corner. Jammeh is a difficult corner right now. In Equatorial Guinea, Jammeh is not himself. Jammeh is not well. He's not been well anyway, but things are deteriorating. Jammeh is holding on to one thing alone. It's not through the democratic process. Don't believe in that. Anything Jammeh is holding to now is for us to destabilize our own country. That's why I'm always appealing to Gambians not to fall for the Jammeh trap. And this trap now is been exercised by Barrow. This division. Let us not be divided. We can have our differences. That's what democracy is. Wolof said, "Ute buga buga ta pisi tubab di jar. Ute buga buga mota pisi tubab di jar." Let us not fall for that. Let's have our differences. It's been proven democracy is not the best, but it's one of the best so far in any system been practiced here. That's why we choose democracy. And our founding parents have the courage to come out of the colonization and go straight to multi-party democracy, when advanced countries then like Ghana and others could not have that courage. They had the courage. Gambia, we are made of sophisticated people. Don't believe in anything else they said. Our problem is that we do be silent and let the minority distort who we are, and we should not allow that. That's why I said today is a day to celebrate, and Gambia, let's come together and build that democracy and go to the pool in a peaceful manner and make sure we have a level playing field. Whoever wins, we accept and continue to fix that country. I would start this program as planned before. I'd had to deliberate on that. It's an important day, but we'll have another time to get down onto that. But as I said again, as much as we welcome the day, we still have our empathy to the family and friends of Yankuba. It's unfortunate, most probably he never listened to them to do the right thing. They would have welcomed the right thing. I'm talking about the genuine friends would have known the right thing to do. It's our empathy. They are Gambians, we are all Gambians, but let them accept that it's the justice and it's the fate that Yankuba have chosen. And Gambia, he let him serve his time, and obviously justice will prevail, and that will be part of when it gets to that time that Gambians have healed, or the justice have, he have remorse and so on, then probably there might be a way of getting his freedom. He's still young. Thank you. And I have to move on to the discussion, and we are still talking about national security. But today I want to look at good governance and the economy. We talked about the first program. We talked about priorities, the priorities we should take as citizens. Be it in political parties, civil society, as we call ourselves independence, how we should conduct ourselves to ensure we have the peace and stability, to make sure that we have a level playing field, to avoid an open conflict and the democracy track. We talked about that. We came back yesterday. We talked about areas that we needed to touch on the side of national security, and I want to recap on that before we have the program today. And the recap on the show from yesterday is again to touch on the desperation of Barrow with the scamming from the APRC executive. As we said, this is a scam between Barrow and the APRC. Barrow is so desperate. We explained he tried a parallel strategy by talking to Jammeh directly. After everything that I don't know what why they think that they could prevail on Barrow, Jammeh. They tried everything. They tried their friendly international networks by Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau, and others. It did not work out. By the same time, for over the years, they were working with the executive of the APRC to try to get the APRC away from Jammeh. And finally, the executive could not deliver. They still cannot deliver, but Barrow is desperate, is getting closer to elections. Barrow have to give something to win confidence. And still praying and hoping that the impossible he knew might be possible. That by giving money, by giving back vehicles, the executive might build confidence on this and to able to take a sizable number from what is left of APRC. And as we have deliberated, that's impossible. Until Yahya Jammeh comes out and pronounce that he is supporting or he's asking people to go and support Barrow, that's, I mean, don't take anything seriously. It's all a scam, and the APRC executive are desperate. They don't have a vacation that that can live independently, and they need money. They've been dependent on the state for long, and they have to continue to depend on the state, and this is their last rush. They're going in now to get the money and to spend on themselves and their loved ones. That's what it is. It's nothing to do with the entire APRC, and we have heard them of different quarters. And when we talked about it yesterday, we explained. I went with a chart. I showed you the chart and explained the dynamics within the APRC and why this thing would not work. But again, I mean, it's a poison chalice if we know how to campaign. Gambians, decent Gambians know how to campaign against this, because of this would be one of the evils that Barrow can do. After we fight to take out the APRC in government, now it's for him to come back and bring. So far his cabinet is made of APRC, his advisors are made of APRC, his parastatals are made of APRC. Almost diplomats are made of APRC at a large chunk of that, and now he wants to complete that. It's up to Gambians to decide that, but I know Gambians will be smart enough not to fall for that. He wants to use our defense in order to do this. We should not allow that. And we talked about this, and one thing we talked about that this executive, I can tell you, for almost 2 years, no member of this executive can come out and swear that they have spoken to Jammeh. I said we know the people that speaks to Jammeh within the systems. We know the people that negotiated, or they were in the negotiation with Jammeh and Barrow. None of that executive members have ever been in that negotiation. All the negotiation they have with Barrow, it's a cabal within the APRC that's doing things for themselves. That's where they have this disagreement. The other thing we talk about is the failed negotiation with Jammeh and Barrow. That negotiation failed, because the things that Jammeh wanted, Barrow cannot deliver that. And Jammeh is smart enough to know that Barrow cannot deliver on this. And this is his freedom. This freedom is not within the powers of Barrow. Most of his crime is of international magnitude, of international level. The other thing is even the domestic, or whatever you call it, national crimes that he committed, it's us Gambians that can forgive. Or it's us Gambians that can let him off that, and have to go through mechanism systems. I mean, and Jammeh have actually, even when Yankuba, during the negotiations, when Yankuba was arrested, that's why I said this sentence is just like it. I mean, God work in mysterious way. It's like a nail in the coffin. Another thing Jammeh asked for was a special legislation to be passed, because now he saw that the indemnity did not work. Now he wanted something, and Barrow knows that he cannot do that. The other aspect is his money, not his money, what they took from him, our money, our properties and money he took from him. He asked that to be given back, and I explained the complication in this. And even if Barrow magic $1 billion or $2 billion to give it to Jammeh, how that is going to work? Is he going to hand over all the money to Jammeh until Jammeh receives the money, or into accounts and everything, then Jammeh will come out? How that's going to work? It's not going to work. And the third thing is the trust factor. Who would trust Barrow? Who would trust Barrow in a deal? Who would trust Barrow in a deal? You see, and all this makes it, it was not even worth trying. But the desperation he tried, we talked about that failed. The other thing is, we touch on, I put a question there, touch on a critical thing to ask. Why was Gambian to ask themselves, then why is APRC executive? I always want to point to the executive because they are not on behalf of, this is a executive that Yaya have created. You see, yeah, God works in mysterious way. Yaya keep on taking every capable person away and use them, put them away, use them, put them away, to the extent that he only have these people that he can just, puppets that he can control. That's why he's have this level of the caliber he have as this executive now from what he had before. When you have the Buba Baldes, the Fode Makalos, you know, experienced people and others as time goes on. And the same thing he did with institutions to create people that they are just a puppet. But now, that's what happened. If you undermine yourself, that's what happened. Dictators like Mubarak build institutions, build the army, build, institutions to run a country. And that's why, again, Mubarak came out of the corner. His family came out of the corner because that army he built and the institutions. We are capable enough to maneuver things around. But no, there's nothing that may left apart from, things that if we are not careful, knowing how to deal with them, to handle them, it will be explosive in our hands. That's the only thing left with us. Nothing effective to do anything change or good. And ask yourself, why did this executive not get money from Jammeh? They said, I'm in Halis. And this is what they want to justify. Ask yourself that, because Jammeh is not crazy or stupid. I don't want to use crazy. Jammeh is smarter than them. Jammeh knew the deal that was going on. The same thing they identified with Emeba, that's what they did to Jammeh. And Jammeh would not give them money anymore. They were just using Jammeh's name. Yes, Jammeh is in the catch-22. He cannot just go and dissolve the executive because they came through a Congress. There's internal politics, whether we believe it or not. That's what they call it. But again, his hands would be forced to do something else. But you ask yourself, why didn't he give them money? Because of he is not in communication with them. He doesn't approve of them, but he cannot just jump and take them off. But gradually something's going to happen. Just watch the space, see how they're going to fix this. It's going to be a problem. We talked about that too. The other thing is, still there's a support for Jammeh from the grassroots. You see, that's why I keep on saying this. When I talk about APRC, I don't talk about the card holders of APRC. Look, that's their mindset, there's their understanding, there's their background. No, there's a lot of things that make those people to support Jammeh. I'm not in agreement with them, but they have a right to do that. I might judge it at whatever, but end of the day is democracy. These people are our families. If we want anything, we need to engage them. Show them the light. If we believe we have the light, put the light there, out there. Bring them on board to continue to be part of the process. Let them understand that, look, you've been scammed since Jammeh left this source. Jammeh is never likely, it's not like, I cannot even start categorizing, any word that will suit it. Jammeh is not coming back. Because even to be tried, Jammeh is not likely to be tried in the Gambia if he's going to be tried. If we get to him before. If he's going to be sentenced, it's not likely to be this thing, because when you go into this thing, there's a risk assessment you do. And they will recommendations will be made to be dealt in a different way, so that it will not be destabilize the country. But it's not likely. Let's go back. He have his grassroots. He's holding onto the grassroots for different reasons. And we have to engage the grassroots, and we have to do it civilizedly. We cannot force anyone to join us, to support us. We cannot keep on going on to demonize them or anything. No. But we know the people who were responsible for things. Those are the people who hold accountable for that. The other aspect we talked about is the ticking time bomb, the Gambia Armed Forces. And as I've been saying all these years, and now the evidence confirmation came from the CDS himself, Drame, saying that the army is polarized, there are tribal elements and all the things and other things, and calling for loyalty, calling for all the things. But that shows you that's an acknowledgement of a total failure. After after 4 good years or going to 5 years, an army of 7,000, and you want to make people believe that you could not have fixed that problem there, you could not have reformed, restructured. Now, the sad thing again, when I talk about the armed forces, I'm not generally saying everybody is bad, but the institution as it is has failed as an institution, and that needed to be restructured and others. Yeah, there are elements. The reason it failed, there was element, and Brahmi and others are part of it. The same Brahmi who telling you you should not be taking part in politics, he same Brahmi was wearing the Asobi of Yaya Jammeh. You see, I keep on telling people, let us not forget quickly. The same Brahmi was accused wrongly, and he knew. He was wrongly accused for coup d'etat. He was stripped, he was tortured, he was put in Maltu, he was demoted from a colonel or general to corporal. He was reinstated, he was taken out, he was sent in a diplomacy, brought back into the system. And you want you to believe that this person is a leader? And every word he comes in, you want to believe in anything? He's just an opportunist. If anybody would live through that and accept to serve the same person, you are not worthy to lead any institutions. And this is the proof. That's why that institution needs to be reformed. And it's sad that majority of the soldiers would be, as I always say, that when they left their homes, they went to the institution, they went in a good faith to be something and somebody and to serve their nation. The institution failed them, they were not failed at their houses because of the institution selected them. The institution must have a criteria they put in to select one of the best that forwarded themselves. It was not a forced conscription. It was a voluntary conscription, and they volunteered and they were selected according to that. We cannot fault the people, but we fault the institution, and institutions are led. That's why we fault the leaders of that institution. But ultimately, the leaders are the civil authority, are the politicians. We hold them responsible for the failure of reforms. What again we talked about was cause of Barrow the issue about Barrow playing the strategy of divide and control. We explained that, the genesis of this. We talked about this in the First Republic, how it happened. By default, we talked about it through what the colonials left with us. We have the protectorate, we have the colonies. From the Cape Saint and Como Saint Mary, we are seen as different citizens, better citizens. They always do this. The house slave and the field slave. Now these people are good enough even to vote, are worthy citizens or worthy. They did that in Senegal. They did that Rufisque, certain Dakar, certain things. Communes were crafted out and governed separately. These things are things that we inherited, but we should have dealt with it better. But what happened is when we went into the Republic, obviously a political party came out of it, becomes the people protected party. And that was the mindset, that was the sentiment, that was the everything that came out of it. But in the process, they went into a reform that was brought the PPP. But again, the party that came from the Cape Saint and Como Saint Mary is the leadership. You see, institution leaders are very important because of the leadership coming from the from the union here. What do you call it? Union, Como Saint, Cape Saint Mary, and especially Banjul. Now, the symbol would be that he's elitist. He was branded an elitist. Yes, he was very educated, especially at that time. Even now, that education is highly sought after, and especially 50-something years ago. Imagine someone obtaining those education, you will be privileged, you will be elitist. And these things and all the things and become tribe. Even though that's not it was not the fact, but that's what the narrative we take. You see, we can have a pile of something, but if you want to pick something out and highlight that, put it under the microscope, that's what will be visible. then it's onto decent citizens, conscious citizens, to try to ignore that and give a better representation by putting the microscope, the context itself or content itself under the microscope for people to see. That's what creates the greater good. But by default, we fell for it. We fell for it. Oh, we have a wall of Mandinka problem. And but eventually what happened? It came out, it's opportunism. UP lost out because of what? They did not form government. PPP formed government and they all left the party and joined the party. And it became Gambia political history, but it became the reality of the Gambia. And we need to change that. Whoever forms government is powerful. This is what Barrow taught. This is what they told Barrow, incumbent. That's why it's important this time out to make sure we send that message. Barrow have to go. We don't do things because of you are the one we entrusted. We entrusted this for you to create an enabling environment for everyone, a greater good, where people would have what they deserve. People would have things based on their potential, their capabilities, and the less able or unfortunate will be supported. There will be a safety net out there. There's an empathy. Will be a country that you visit our mental homes, you will be proud of. You go to, our prisons, you'll be proud of. Because of and you go to our hospitals, you'll be proud of. That's where it should measure who we are. Not whether we have those skyscrapers or whatever, even though we don't have. These are things that we have to look at. We have, distortion from there on. And this Terry Kafo, this Banjul Mafia came up. It was all people representing their own interests and family interests. As I said, there's no Banjulian, there's no Wolof that went and built a Wolof empire or empower a Wolof empire or anything else. What they did, they built themselves there. Even to their nephews or nieces, they didn't get there. The resources were centered on themselves, their wives, and their kids. There's no Mandinka that went and built a Mandinka empire or built an enclave or whatever it is. What did they build? Everybody, and that's human. I'm not against that. And I can still remember as a child walking in Cape Point and aspiring to be one of those squatters, having a good house. And look at it today, it was just a bungalow, but it was better than whatever it is. That's what we aspire for. We don't want to have grudges. We want people to be prosperous. Everyone to be prosperous. That was in general terms, that was their potential. General terms, they could have achieved that. I'm not saying everybody could have, but generally they would have. But you see, that's just a small portion of corrupt people and bad people. The entire thing about Cape Point was seen as wrong. All the people living in Cape Point were thieves. It's a lie. Most of them were technocrats. They were international civil servants for that matter, who are not even in the Gambia or work in the Gambia. And they did not have the builders, those houses in one, just as we see now, in a year. Some of those houses stayed there for 10, 15 years. As kids, we used to go in those houses to do Nobu Nanjo, to Lakasun Kasu. We do play World Cup. We do different things in those houses. It took ages to finish. Because they were using their resources wisely trying to build. Most of them, yes, there are some people that were corrupt. But it was not, nobody have built anybody, and nobody can still do it. And these are things all we had wrong, and it happened, and now Jammeh came and make it toxic. And I explained yesterday how it makes it. It's a strategy that he used in order. You see, Saddam Hussein did it. You come from a minority tribe. It's Syria did it. Other people, you come from a minority tribe to coup d'etat. There's a strategy you have to use to divide the entire population and to make sure you rule by those tribes. And this, Gaddafi did it. You see, but it doesn't end well. We should avoid that. We manage to get out. You see, it's still a miracle. That's why even academics said it. There's no country that can come from that notoriety of dictatorship without going to civil war. If you understand even how Ghana got out from what they get out from, Rawlings was a genius to understand that the time have come. And Rawlings started to use all the instruments available. Use the international community, use everything to structure his way out. to the extent of I think it's the royal family here have to go and even have a visit. He structured everything. He was more sophisticated. He knows how to do this thing. But yeah, I was never ready for this that day. If you see, Machiavelli said that you know when to strike at the beginning and before, and as time goes on, people will forget that strike. That Rollins said what he did. As time goes on, people will just be benefiting from everything that you're using, and they will forgive and forget about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when you came in, what you did. After you have, done far more good than these things, and how hideous and bad that was before. That's how my human mind is. And we have to be careful, because we had this opportunity for a transition. We lost the transition, and the Gambia would have to go through a transition after December. Failure to go through a transition would not be good for us. We need those reforms and everything else we need. We have to do that. The other thing we spoke about, the recap is taking long, but I like to do this now because it will help for people that have not listened to the last program. We'll catch up and we'll do that. We keep on doing it. We have time to do that. We rather do it properly and haphazardly. And the other thing we talked about is the other thing we talked about yesterday was a message for the UDP. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for this provocation. Yes, it was difficult during the dictatorship to see some of these things. And this time around, don't fall is the same strategy being taught Barrow and being used. Don't fall for this. Don't overreact. This strategy will react sensibly. But again, the same advice was not only given to the UDP not to fall for the trap, because if UDP fall for the trap, it's Gambia that fall for the trap. Gambia, let's not fall for this trap. Barrow wants to make us to believe that it's Barrow or the UDP. That's not good for our democracy. It's not good for our country. How can we want to have a mindset to believe that it's only two people are to determine who runs their country or who governs their country, or two parties would be? That's not good for a democracy. But it's rest on us. We have to focus, especially the people that are in political parties and political parties. How do you make yourself relevant? How can we strategize to build ourselves and to come up to be part of this thing? And we can do it to the extent of Barrow will be out of the equation. Barrow would be out of the equation. Then what you have is Gambians can have an alternative to the UDP and go to the polls. We still have time to change. But obviously it takes hard work. It takes dedication. It takes focus. Let us not base it on emotions. We cannot just throw in the towel. That's what democracy is. Democracy is about participation. Democracy is about trying to win politically and fairly. And the win does not always mean you are the one forming the party in government, but you will be part of the government, because a vibrant opposition is part of government. Then what I want to say here, the most important thing is, let us not allow that country to be destabilized because of we run our emotions. People irritate us, agitate us, whatever. We have our differences. People in every society, you will have idiots that will try to destabilize it. Look at the United Kingdom in the Euros. We all seen the contribution of this thing. And you'll be surprised that these idiots that went out to attack the black players, they would have celebrated these black players if they have won that match. They will go out the next day and buy a jersey with the black player number on it and his name on it. The same racist idiots. But that tells you their mind, the mind they have. That's why we should understand what we have in common, what our interest is. That country is not owned by one person, it's owned by us. And there's nobody who can prioritize any other thing better than prioritizing for the greater good, creating a conducive environment for every Gambian. This is what we should always work for within our political structures, within our civil society as individuals. And let us not allow the minority, as I always said, minority to destabilize us. The other thing I talked about is Gambia to build on democracy. Yeah, I just elaborate on where to prepare, where to prepare two-way on. Yeah, I talk about the two-way and the three-way. The three-way thing we can do. The borough isolation at State House and the we have to be very careful. We have seen this game played. We have seen this game played. When Yaya Jammeh was, talking about Bilawala Talai, Damadef moving soldiers, moving vehicle, strategic positions or whatever it is, shouting out, I am ready to die, I'll die for Gambia. I told you guys, he's not going to die. I had a friend I was talking to today, and he asked me this. I have to ask you because you know Yaya. He said, I talked to this guy who's very close to Yaya. I said, Yaya Jammeh is the biggest coward. And I said to him, look, it's not about Yaya Jammeh being the biggest coward. I said, we are all cowards. We are only brave when we are cornered. If we have a choice, we don't want to lose our lives. Until we have a temporary insanity or insanity, we cherish this life. I said, people that lose hope, they are the ones who volunteer that life. They have a cause that they lost hope, they volunteer that life. I'm not going to justify people that do it for a cause, but I'll tell you this is why they do it. But I give you a simple example of the back way. That's why if I look at these youths or these people going to the back way, even looking at them, them in the dinky in the ocean, I get nervous, wrecked. I get nervous, wrecked. Just looking at it, a picture of it, thinking about, wow, how did they do this? If I see them in the desert and I'm thinking of what can happen, I become nervous wreck. But why are they braving it up? Because they have lost hope from where they're coming from. They do anything to look, to get to the other side, whether they will find it or not. It's like a mirage in the middle of the desert. You see it up there, you run to it. And if you will not find it, you see it again, you run to it. You keep on running because that's the only hope you have. You see, they will never fight. They will never stand up. Blaise Compaoré did it. You see, whenever they fight, they are trapped. They are trapped. But most cases, if they realize that they're going to get trapped, they'll find a way and run away. And what do? They will leave rest of us to deal with it. Samuel Doe did the same thing. Samuel Doe was trapped until he could not even support his troops to feed. That desperation, he went and took a chance. He was not brave to go for that negotiation because he forced, they built confidence. It didn't just happen, people don't know. They built confidence. Prince Johnson took the risk and went and met Chelsea. Prince Johnson was cornered because Chelsea was coming on the other side. But he took the risk. He went and they met. They signed a so-called agreement. And they exchanged. Doe gave him weapons and ammunition, and he gave 500 bags of rice because they needed each other. But the minute he got that, he asked Doe to come to the thing so that he can sign an agreement, and he got rid of Doe. Doe was trapped. Blaise Compaoré ran away, broad daylight, when it was coming to be real that he was going to go. How many people? Yaya Jammeh did it with a red carpet. Yes, he was strategic. He hold up to the last minute just to try to get something. What he wanted, he could not. That so-called document that was not signed. And finally, he had to take that risk because yes, he had to take that chance because that's how risky it was. Knowing that if he goes on exile, he's not free. He wanted to try and get something. He tried everything, it didn't work out. He had that red carpet. But because, two, he got an ally. He makes sure, that's why he makes sure the Mauritanian president was always with him. Knowing that once another sovereign head of state is with you, nobody dare to attack. Nobody dare to do anything to you. No, not international forces, no, not even local forces. They're not stupid. And that was his way of holding up. And he knew that even his people might have captured him to arrange for something. He knew all that. That's why the last minute he used those Gambian mercenaries who were in the Gambia. Most of it, they're the one around him and his loyalists. The entire army was even, put at this distance. And for Barrow, he's not a soldier. What does Barrow have? I'll tell you, strategically, military-wise, they will never use a convoy. If things go south, they will never use a convoy to go to the airport. Because this time around, there's no protection. If any route you want to take would be risky for Barrow. You know what they do? They will ask for a helicopter to come and land at the State House, land at Makamakuda, wherever he is, to be picked up and his family, wife and family, and taken away. We Gambians will be left. Our families will be in the streets. Or if our families will be hunting each other. Our families, and I don't want to use any other scenario, but just imagine today the Gambia we have, the Gambia we are. Just who is your neighbor? We are all neighbors. How can you choose who is to die or is to live? Why would you choose that? Why would we even think about getting there? And if we continue and falling up for this division, rather than use these differences in political party differences and anything as a strength, diversity, when our founding fathers went out to negotiate for our independence, they did not say that we have the minerals. It was that they doubted our existence, that we cannot be an independent country. Our founding fathers went out there to say that the strength is our diversity, our diverse people. They did not say any other tribe. They said our diverse people. That's our strength. Then we should learn from that mistakes and avoid everything else, and knowing that if anything happened, there's no leader in the Gambia who's protected enough. There's no person, there's no family who's protected enough. In fact, the most privileged would be most at risk, and the most at risk would be people that have identified as belonging. And we should avoid that. Barrow would not be at risk. And I don't, as I said, and if I talk about security, certain things I don't want to talk about. But don't think of he ensured that every aspect of his security is taken care of. And if there's anything, he'll be airlifted to go. Probably he'll deal with that another day or other years. But at that moment, it's only us Gambians. That's why I keep on playing to Gambians. We can have our differences and everything, but please, let's keep that peace and stability. Let's stop agitating, on tribe, agitating on region or anything. Our parties we can have our, satire, we can have many things that we can do. But we keep our private lives and our families out of this, and that way we can ensure we have the peace and stability, and our democracy will thrive, and whoever comes out, well, Gambia will continue to be built. And the other thing we talk about, the campaign. Now, you see, the other thing is campaign. We can do everything. You see, resources, money is good in politics. It's part of the thing. But the other resources are more important. Strategy. Politics is strategy. Politics is information, is message. Once we understand the mindsets, once we have a strategy, once we can respond, once we can change the narratives, once we can make a narrative, once we can hold a narrative, that's what brings about change. You see, I don't have time. I can go and give you examples based on statistics if you want. We did all the studies. We can tell you how Abdou Diouf lost an election to Wada, how Wada lost an election to Macky Sall. I can go on and explain the elections, democratic elections that happened in Africa, many of them, and give you an example. How it turned around. And another case study would be Ghana. You see how it started moving from the one-party turnover. You see, mature democracy, because all the time it's strategy. And people that are talking about tribes. You see, Africa is a tribal nation. We are all tribes. We cannot run away from that. And not in Africa. Even in Europe, there are certain things impossible. Even in Europe, certain things are impossible. I tell you, United Kingdom here, a strong Scottish accent would not be a party leader and win an election. And even a Welsh would not strongly win elections. If you identify strongly as a Scottish, identify strongly as a Welsh, you cannot become a prime minister for now. It will take a time. And this is United Kingdom. There's a reason for that. Tony Blair became the thing and he lost. Tony Blair was the better candidate, but I mean for every reason. But he was from a Scottish constituency. See? And he's strong Scottish. These are things we have to understand. These things do happen, but does not mean that we should fight against it. In Ghana, you know the last election, what happened? The president went and married from the north. His second wife. He's a Christian, but he married a second wife. And the second wife was the face of the campaign because of the amount of vote he needed from the north, of a different tribe, of a Muslim. His second wife was a Muslim. He's a Muslim. And it goes around. It was actually used at the face in the north, going around in Muslim communities, speaking the language, doing all that. You see, that's politics. That's politics. I'm not saying that he doesn't love the wife or anything, but look, even our religion talked about influence. Even our religion talked about influence. And we have to understand that. That's why I said that we should accept the outcomes. But what we should ensure, we have a level playing field, we use our strategy, use our efforts and everything. Money comes to it, but look, too much of money is toxic, and that's what's happening to MPP. Everything's about money. Cross-campaign dividend. If I needed money today, I know how to play it and go to NPP. I probably first go and join the UDP. And the UDP would make noise and get me up there. Then I'll go down to the NPP and I'll make, we have seen all that. Money, end of the day, would not be solution. We have to listen. And I'm saying that I want to start this program, and another side of this program, by, thank you, 1 minute, let me get this. What I want to do is, I want to deal with the interview Barrow did at, what do you call it, QTV. I'll play the short interviews and I'll react to them. Why am I doing this? As I said, if Barrow talks about policy, if Barrow talks about projects or anything, you find out what this government is. They don't have nothing to talk about. Even the projects they talk about, you find what a risk it is to our national security. Corruption. You see, people think that, oh, what happened in these countries are because of tribe. No, it's about corruption. It's about resources. You see, most people that talk about tribe or fight these things is to take power. Why would anybody, if anybody do these things to take power in that manner? Because of corruption, resources. They want to go and capture power. Once they capture power, what they do? Take everything for themselves. That money doesn't go to the tribes. The opportunity doesn't go to the tribes. We don't have special regions that are of one tribe. We don't have that. And it's of most African countries. Just like in Nigeria. The Fulanis will tell you this, the Northerners will tell you this, the Hausas will tell you this, the Yoruba will tell you this, the Igbo will tell you that. But if any of them become a president, the North will be the same, the South will be the same, the Middle will be the same. Look at how Nigeria is. And they have presidents coming from everywhere. Did they develop them? No. But go and see the presidents or their governors or their properties, their airplanes, their money, their reserves, their sons, their daughters. What do they have? We should not fall for this. And the same thing talk about Barrow and people like Barrow. Look at Macky Sall. It's the same thing now. It's coming to light. It's all about him. He doesn't care about Senegal. The democracy in Senegal is distressing. Senegal has become unstable. But they don't care. And that's why that's why I say it's national security. It's about economy, it's about good governance. The absence of it Let's start from one video because I don't want to stay long. And this video, probably most people have heard it. And this video, I think, is talking about the diaspora. Just listen to this in a minute.
The issue of the diaspora, I mean, these are people that you have really praised when you came in Mali for their contribution to the change in 2017. But we are seeing they are not voting in this upcoming election. Are you disappointed?
I am disappointed. Definitely, I wanted the diaspora to be part of this election. Unfortunately, as I said, we have a lot on our plate. We are doing a lot part of our reforms. And part of that, it becomes very, very difficult for us to register the diaspora and for them to be part of this election. But I think going forward, we should all come together and think of how we will organize that so that the diaspora will be part of our elections. I think the process was a little bit difficult and we all wanted it, but we didn't have the idea how to do it. This is where we have challenges. Because the diaspora is all over the world. You know, how even to select which country. And that is also becoming a little bit difficult to look at. So I think we have to think and look at all these things, to make sure next time the diaspora are part of our election process. But we invite all of them to come Gambia, register, and come and vote. We want all of them to come and vote, definitely.
Is it true that your government wasn't keen about them voting because perhaps you didn't have that much support?
This is not about government. This is not about Rambaro. This is not about the government alone. This is about everybody. We are all discussing about this. We are in it. We have never opposed diaspora voting. Never. You will not see it in record anywhere. The minister said, no, we don't want diaspora voting. It's not possible. We are all supporting diaspora voting. But unfortunately, there are things that we support. Sometimes you have shortcomings. You cannot achieve all at the same time. It takes time. So this is part of our democracy. It's part of the process we are doing. Democracy is difficult. Because anything you do, you have to follow processes. And people agree to disagree on certain things. But we are really part of the people who support the diaspora voting.
Thank you. And what Barrow said is not true. Barrow, Tangara is actually one of the ministers that would said it. He's not going to talk to the diaspora. He's not, even Gambian media, he vowed not to talk to us. That's how arrogant Tangara is. And this is happening here. And it's not true. What's not true? The government doesn't want it. He said because they have reforms. What reforms? There's not one reform that's been delivered by this government. Not one. That's one. Out. Two, he said it's difficult. And he said it's government is process. Then does he not understand what process means? Why do we have an IEC? Why do we have a parliament? Why do we have, the finance ministry? Which aspect of that fail? Why do we have a cabinet? Have they ever tabled the cabinet to check the priorities? If it was a priority, have they ever been realized that, look, there's a problem here? He did not elaborate on anything tangible to say that, oh, we deal with this, we had we had a cabinet meeting before on this, and I did instruct this or that. Nothing. This is not true. The other thing is saying it's difficult. You see, we did a program, people that followed our diaspora program on diaspora voting, a project called the MSDG project, led by Professor Jibril Fall. From the beginning of the transition, this is almost 5 years, beginning of the transition, MSDG project took up a lot of projects to help in the consolidation of a democracy, to build that democracy, institutional reforms, and in many aspects. And one of those projects was diaspora voting. They technically did everything that they need to do. The director of diaspora directorate in at the Ministry of External Affairs. I forgot the gentleman's name. We invited the gentleman in the program, and yes, he turned up. He admitted that MSDG project did 80% of the work. Let me just cut it as short. They looked at the legal, they looked at financing, they looked at logistics, they looked at any kind of modalities that needed to be looked at. They did studies, they did comparative studies. They invite experts onto it. They invited people that have delivered, Senegal and other countries that have done diaspora voting. They studied our case in a unique form, in fact, to look at what can we do. They even look at the marbles. People talking about marbles, they looked at that, all those things, how it's going to work, where we're going to vote, how we're going to vote. They look at the statistics. They looked at the country's population of Gambians in what country. They understand the population of Gambians in what city, to give a demography, to explain how this thing can be done. It's the lack of political will, and the lack of political will, it was from the government. And the IEC too failed. Is it incompetence? Did they collude part of the government, a lack of political will? The verdict is open. The verdict is open, and we need to work on that. But the president did not do anything, and he never wanted the diaspora voting, because anything that does not suit Adam Barrow would not happen, and the constitution is a case study that we can take on that. Let me move on to the other position. I'll play on diplomacy. Let me just move to diplomacy in a minute.
To this country, you met Yaya. I told them first time when you came to this country, you met Yaya Jammeh, one to one. It was not fair on me when you came for the first time. You met me with a group, you know. People are making different statements. I want to meet you this time, you know. One-to-one with you, tete-a-tete. I don't want anybody else. But my team, they were not aware of that. I used the diplomatic channel to contact Ellen Johnson. She was the chair. I said, I want you people to give me the opportunity.
The then Liberian president.
Then Liberian president. So this time, I want to meet you one-to-one. I think I can explain my case better than anybody else.
Wow.
She approved it without anybody knowing. So when they were in the hotel room, myself and my team, the coalition team and everybody, we were all there together. Then they sent their protocol to say the president's request to meet president-elect only, but without their knowledge. But this was arranged. You know, diplomacy is about hypocrisy. Diplomacy is like that. So, well, Mr. President demanding for president-elect alone. Nobody will follow him. So, I was given that opportunity. That opportunity was the game changer.
Wow.
When I spoke to them.
Okay. That's another. You will ask yourself, how smart is Barrow? But again, you understand the arrogance of Barrow. This is very revealing. People jump onto it or laughing that he called diplomacy hypocrisy. But there's more important things here. Now, Barrow is saying that during the process of negotiation, he decided he cannot face his compatriots to say that, look, I think I better sit with them tete-a-tete. I think there might be something effective here. If I sit with them alone, they might take things in a different manner, rather than just being seen as collectively. Let them see that we are strong as a team, but I am strong as a leader to take this on. If he had done that, that's what a leader is. But no, he said, he decided to go behind the back of his team members. Tells you the kind of person he is. If it happens, I'll get to that. If it happens, it's him claiming. I'm taking it from his claims. When and he said behind my team. And who did he use then? Who did he use to use the diplomatic channels? That must be part of your team. Is he telling us he have already started dealing with people who were not part of the coalition? Is that part of the EPRC? We don't know. That's why I have I doubt this, and I'll get to that. He said that he did that, and to get to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and to organize this meeting tete-a-tete, because he thinks that nobody could have represented him better. I'll come back to that. And again, he said that that was the game changer. Now he is trying to take credit for everything. Just as you take credit for sponsoring the coalition, take credit for taking out the IJM, take credit for everything. Gambia, this tells you the kind of person we're dealing with. You expect this guy, we confirm him after all this abuse, after the corruption, after everything, neglect, abusing our reforms. We accept this person and vote for him. What is he going to do next? We are acknowledging that we are nothing. We are acknowledging that we don't deserve good leaders, we don't deserve, and he will continue. This is installing a dictator. Let me say, why do I have doubt that this thing happened the way it happened? I'm not saying that Barrow did not meet Ellen Johnson tete-a-tete, but I don't believe that Barrow initiated this meeting. No, it was initiated, I believe that it was initiated by the mediation committee, thinking that, look, we have been talking to these people and Barrow have not been saying a word. Now, I think it's best to hear from Barrow alone without this group. Probably we might break something out here. In negotiations, this thing do happen. It's called the strategy of isolated. You see, people do it in order to have an advantage. But the negotiating team, because they are independent in this, apart from wanting to foster the Democrats, they're independent in this. They might want to say that, look, probably to get to certain things here, we need to speak to the president-elect himself. Though it's a coalition, we need to see him because he will be the one with the executive powers. We have to negotiate with him and see. There are certain points, probably certain points we want to put to him without the team. This is what I mostly believe, because I cannot believe in, when Barrow said something, I have to think about it twice. Now, if that happened, and why would that happen? I'll come back to it. We all realized and knew at that time, Barrow was avoiding to speak to local correspondents, local journalists. He was avoiding because he was petrified. He only spoke to friendly, very friendly, place to him. The first day he was given to react to Jammeh, coming out of the elections, the elections. He was like that. We can see him shake like that. And knowing Barrow, I know, and still now, at that time, the tension and everything, Barrow doesn't have the capacity, the thought process, to say that I'm going to face this alone. I'm going to take this on. I cannot see a reason that Barrow thinks Barrow have an argument better than Halifa Sallah. Barrow have an argument better than my Fati. And you know my Fati is one of my favorite. Barrow have this thing better than the rest of the team. Why did I choose mention these two people? They were the point people that we normally heard responding. Barrow would not have a better argument. That's not, I'm talking about even dealing with the domestic, national arena, dealing with Gambians. He was petrified. You think he would want to go at tete-a-tete with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf with team of these things? No. If that happened, it was not to his request. But again, the most important part is, even if this thing happened, it's not wise to come and tell Gambians that you are treacherous. It's not wise. But you see, that's God's way of doing things. God will reveal. God is revealing to Gambians every day. Every day is for us to believe. God gave us a will to believe. If we don't want to believe this is the person we have, if we don't believe that we have any better Gambian, Ben Suare cannot choose the person to lead. Gambia have to do that. We have political parties, many. And we then should find, and those political parties should look at themselves. Why should Barrow be even in the ballot box? because of we have failed. Any competent country, Barrow would have been spoken of about now in this sentence we do. He would have been in a different. Let me go to the next clip. I love these people cutting this clip because it's easier to listen to Barrow in this manner than any other way. Let me see. I don't know what the next one is. I'll play. I'll know what next one is. I think it should be Hadim Guy. I think it should be Hadim Guy. Let me see where there's Hadim Guy. Okay.
I told them first time when you came to this country.
No, that's not the one. One minute.
In Banjul, but there were questions.
Just a minute.
Roads rehabilitation in Banjul, but there were questions as to why there was no open bidding for this project, which was awarded to Gay Construction.
You know, open bidding and single sourcing, they are all legal, depending on how you do it. Banjul project, we wanted to do the Banjul project, but we are not having money to do the Banjul project, to be honest with you. And we are very ambitious. We wanted to do it. A Gambian contractor came up with the idea of pre-financing. That is Hadim Guy. I will thank him again for the support he gave us. He came with pre-financing. And when he came to my office, what he told me, it was too good to believe. I will pre-finance and I accept you to pay me in dollars and you will not give me guarantee. Who will do that for you in this world? No guarantee, no sovereign guarantee. You pay me in dollars and I pre-finance. I do it in 5 years, you pay me in 10 years. This was too good to believe. When you told me that you had it, you have to be very, very serious. Do you think you can do this? You have the capacity to do that? He said, yes, he can do it. I said, no. I don't think you can do it. He said he can do it. I called my technicians. Ministry of Works, how to call it, finance, and others. Secretary General, let's sit down with this man. Let's listen to him. The idea might be crazy, or you might think it's too good, he cannot do it. Well, maybe. Yes. So we had a discussion with him, and we see that this man is very serious. He's
Yes. Let me just give you a quick background about this project. The most civilized word I can say that he misrepresented the facts. He know the facts, he misrepresented the facts. First, Hadim Guy have never initiated this project. This project actually was initiated by a Senegalese company, the same people that gave him these 2 properties in Senegal. Why do you think those Senegalese give him the 2 properties in Senegal? For this project. And these people support Macky Sall. And when he betrayed those Senegalese, Macky Sall was not happy with it because he betrayed them. That Senegalese came because that Senegalese guys in fact have Gambian roots. I think his mother is Gambian or something like that. Wanted a project for Banjul, the road and drainage. And he had a concept and he gave them the concept to do it pre-finance. When the Senegalese did that, what did they do? They took the concept. They stole the concept from the Senegalese and they decided, Alaji Cissé, Mamboure Ndiaye and Jammeh and Baylamin Diop, they decided to form a consortium. You will not see it in writing. It's a gentleman agreement. And what actually happened now, Barrow have realized, in fact, the shares given to him far less than the shares, Alaji Cissé, Mamboure Ndiaye and Baylamin Diop got from the contracts. They got more from the contracts than him. They formed a consortium for this project. And now they use Hadim as the contractor in order to put it as pre-finance. Then if they do, then they have their kickbacks and the project will go on. And Barrow did not say the truth again. The contract was numerated in dollars. 35 million US dollars numerated. The IMF came, if anybody can get to Mustafa Dabo, the investigation journalist, he did a program on that, and he confronted Bailamin Job and the permanent secretary finance, something second. And what they did, because of the IMF came and said to them, you cannot numerate a project, a national project in dollars. Is going to with that economy, because your foreign currency have to go, and it was not sound. Now they backtracked because they wanted the IMF to pay for this. IMF said no, they're not going to give him a loan. Now they backtracked and they rewrote the contract. Go and look at Mustafa Swandi Dabo's program. The investigation, the videos, and everything is there. He confronted, and Bailamin was shocked. She said to him, where did you get this contract from? Because he had the old contract, and they went to renegotiate to bring up about a new contract. Barrow did not say the truth again. One. Again, why did they choose Hadim Gai? The company Hadim Gai got, if Gambians are smart, next government is smart, Hadim Gai have to be investigated to find out where did he get the company from. That company might be owned by Yaya Jammeh, and they took it from Yaya Jammeh. I'm not sure whether it's Boto Construction. I'm not sure whether it's Boto Construction, but there was a Gambian that had a construction company, and road construction company, and he fell out with Yaya Jammeh. Yaya Jammeh took the equipment from that company. Yaya Jammeh imported more equipment for the company to have a road project, a road construction company. When he did that, Yaya Jammeh invited a friend of mine who he knows from childhood. The person was an engineer, living somewhere, a chartered engineer. He invited that guy, they sat in State House. He offered that guy to be the Minister of Works and to run his company. The guy wasn't stupid. He told me, he said to me, I know Yaya. He did our childhood. In fact, I mentored him. He said, he spoke to Yaya, they were sitting, only two of them, nobody in the thing. He said, Yaya started recalling their childhood. Praising him, how he trusts him, how he believes him, how he's proud of him being a successful engineer and everything. And said, I need you, I need your help. And Yaya blamed almost everybody that ever worked for him at the Works Ministry. Their problems. He said, up to the point Yaya started to water the ferment, the eyes, like wanted to cry. And he said, if he did not know Yaya, he would have fought for it, and he understands why most Gambians fall for Yaya, because you can believe that this guy was genuine, and you would have changed something. And I have another Koto who told me before, Sumaraka, so toge Yaya Jammeh, dinga gene say Yaya si nga may koko. That's how that brother was taken up. When some of our brothers, when they're educated, they think they're smart. But this guy said they talked about this. And he nearly things started to go on in his head. And Yaya Jammeh dropped the ball. And so at a sudden, Yaya Jammeh changed again. And just sat there and said to him, do you know Thursday I dreamt about you? I saw you coming in, and I this, and I even dreamt that this is what you were wearing. And the ball dropped. And the guy said nicely, and said to him, look, I don't think I will be suited in cabinet. I don't want to be political. You know my political views, and I still hold them. But hence is national development. You want a company? I'll have a look. And in that, Yaya smart again, to build confidence, he said he delegated the guy and give him in class. He said, whilst you're in the country, I just want you to even to look at these things for me. These areas I need to develop, and I want to do this thing, and try to get onto this guy's patriotic feelings. The guy did that and everything, and gave him a draft and submitted. The guy left the Gambia. That's the last time he don't even bother to travel to the Gambia again, just to avoid him. Those properties, I'm not saying exactly, these are the properties that moved to Hadim. But it was interesting at that time, the chief protocol was Sise, Alaji Sise, and Hadim was selling in the market. Hadim have no engineering, no capital, no nothing. So all of a sudden, Hadim turned around to be a contractor, Hadim have this equipment to do build roads, and Hadim become preferable bidder. And even been given contract by Social Security, he have never conducted, and he took the money. That's the Hadim guy we know. Now, where did Hadim guy get these things? And investigation should be this thing because of the approximately he have with these things. I hate commissions, but if it's more effective to go to a commission or bring out a legislation that Gambians have to, declare the in gutted gains, we have to do that. This is the reason. Alaji Sise is Hadim's guy's brother-in-law. And we all know the Franco Federation in State House. Alaji Sise, Tangara, and other people that were studied in Senegal, and Mamboure Ndiaye, who spent a lot of time in Senegal when he left this thing, they had a kind of a clique. You know, remember when Yaya Jammeh saying that the people I trusted most was Alaji Sise, Mamboure Ndiaye, and Yankuba. You see, that cabal is still intact. That's why we should be very careful about what he said. It was not true. Hadim Guy never initiated this project. Hadim Guy would not have the audacity to initiate this project. And he said that Hadim Guy said he had the capacity. Hadim Guy never had that capacity. There's no Gambian contractor, I'm not saying tough and others, I'm saying road contractor with that capacity of $35 million. And no bank will give you that money in the Gambia. For 5-10 years, it's impossible. To pay in 10 years, it's impossible. What they did is they have an opportunity. Why is it this important? Barrow, I'm going to prove any project Barrow went for, because of Barrow is going to get something out of it. And people that he did the project with have going to go and have something out of it. Recently, a few months ago, people around Barrow went and sold Barrow properties in Senegal, properties in the Gambia, renovations that some of these people did before when they came in as ministers, the renovation they did to properties, old properties that were decayed, and Barrow realized, and investments that they identified that the people, Barrow realized that this, yes, it's true, these people got more from all the deals I did with them. He thought he was making money out of this, but they made more money, and now those projects failed to inspire what he thought going to be inspired. Now he's angry. But what can he do? He can do nothing. He cannot kick anybody from cabinet now. Even what's his name? What's his name again? The politician Ba. He can't even kick that person in cabinet, even though he's angry with him. Ahmad Ba. Then that's not true. The 5-10 years, the structure and everything is not true. That's completely a lie. It's a concept they stole from someone they did, and this is how the company worked out. Why it's not true? Again, the evidence is there. I've said it yesterday. They have almost paid 900 million to the company already. In 1 year, they paid almost 900 million, 400 and something million, 200 and something million. We all seen that in the house. Mamboure came and asked for subvention, money to pay for the Banyan project. The project is not worth that. They have their kickbacks, almost 900 million. Where is the pre-financing? Where is the 10 years grace period? Gambia could have done that project in a manner and less, interest, grace period, especially the time we came in a democracy. 2% grace period 10 years, 3% grace period of 8 years. All these things could have been structured. But these are the problems that, you see, the problem we're talking about, high cost of living, these are all the reasons, because of we went and borrowed money in the domestic market. Now, that money we borrowed in the domestic market have taken money, liquidity out from other businesses in order to take in. Interest rates are there. You see, these are the problems we have, and that's we keep on telling you, continuity of Barrow is, if we vote for him, it's like he have done right. You think your child keep on doing wrong, you keep on giving him sweets. What are you telling us? What are you telling that child is the same thing if we continue with Barrow. Everything he said in that interview is not true. And his technicians, those technicians are criminals. They are part of the cabal. They have a share options that they have with Barrow, and that's what they did. The other one is the standard of living. Let me play this video.
It's the president. It's the president who is controlling the national treasury. But it's not easy like that. National treasury, they get money from there. Believe me, we even in the state house, we have challenges here. Basic things sometimes we have problem. Water.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
State house?
Yes, state house. Water. The supplying us water, our budget is finished. And what we are giving for the money is finished. We cannot get the money anyway. Because they'll tell you we have nowhere to enter it. We have to be enter it. It is your quarter. And you are finishing. So where are you going to enter? Are you going to enter for the same month? So we have those problems here. Sometimes we have to dip in our pockets to go and buy water. And the state house. So we don't have problems here. We have a lot of problems here. You know. So this is governance. It's not easy. You know, what people see outside and what is inside is different. Outside, you know what you see? You see the vehicle, you see the security, you see the red carpet, you know, that is the core.
Let's now look at the issue.
Okay. Now, guys, I forgot one part in the talking about the Hadim Gaik issue. Barrow said that single sourcing is not illegal, but it's not best practice. Now, how can you ensure that government have a better deal? If Hadim Gaik come and even claim that, put it forbidden. And how do we ensure that Gambians are given equal opportunity? How many contractors do we have in the country? Do you know how many contracts Hadim Gaik have since coming to government? Barrow coming to government? The State House. Over 300 million was spent to refurbish the State House. Hadim Gaik. And I think the Vice President residence. Things like that and other contracts. And these are things that we need to investigate. Why Hadim Gaik become a preferable bidder? It's not right. That's why it's avoided. It's not best practice. In emergency, and in emergency, and it has to be justifiable to go for a single source. And certain amount of money cannot even go justify in an emergency. But no, Barrow is telling us now, admitting that we even buy his water to drink. We pay him a salary. He increases salary. We pay everything Barrow does. We pay for his clothes. We pay for his children's school fees. We pay for his medical bills, children's medical bills. We pay for the electricity. We pay for anything Barrow consumes. And we all know how much, okay, someone said Vice President resident for 45 million. We all know how much Barrow had. I cannot remember the figure. Someone will remember how much he is spending a month. And Barrow wants us to believe that that amount of money is not enough for him to spend. If that amount of money is not enough for him to spend, then Barrow should have had empathy for Gambians to realize what are Gambians going through. If a police sergeant is earning less than $4,000 or something like of that sort, if police constable is earning $2,000, $3,000, if other teachers and others are earning that, and we paying everything for you, you're not paying rent and everything, your school fees, your students, your children's higher education and everything, private schools, we pay for everything, and that amount of money being given to you as Japan's, you're saying that it's not going enough. You're saying that it's not enough. You have to buy water from my pocket. And it's not true again. As I said, that's the most civilized word I can use, and to be factual. He said that it's difficult to take money from the treasury. It's not true. Again, my brother Mustafa Dabo, investigation journalist, proved that how many million was used to get the COVID so-called medicine from Guinea-Bissau. A box that anybody could have put in a car or do anything. And I don't know why we need it. It's about 2 million. About $2 million. And it was a directive from Barrow. He gave the depense is $150,000 monthly. $150,000 monthly. Now, he instructed and they went to central bank and got 2 million to pay for what a box of so-called medicine taken from Guinea-Bissau. How can he say that it's not easy to get money from the treasury? That's not true. That's not true. But again, what does this tell us? I just explained something here. Barrow put down a foundation stone in Sankandi. Some people know the Battle of Sankandi. In Sankandi, and he said that the road in that KM West is 87 kilometers. He said that in an interview. 87 kilometers. Actually, the road is 35 kilometers. Barrow added 52 kilometers onto that road. But this is serious. Is Barrow just exaggerating? Or is it that's what they put on their contract documents? The MPs need to find out. The political parties need to find out. Because if that's on the contract document, tells us another way that they get money from us. And who is giving this contract? Hadim Gai. Hadim Gai again. And I don't think it was on open bid. Again, so-called pre-finance. Now, 52 kilometers deficit. That's deficit on the calculation. How much that money? Now, we have to find out. Now, the cost of the project, is it right? Is it right? I hope the MPs will follow this through. This is not a misspeech. It's not like someone trying to say 15 and say 50. No, this is 87 and 35. It's not someone wanting to say 15 and say 50. And the difference is 52 kilometers. The difference is more than the actual distance being built. This is the kind of projects Barrow does. But I have my last point that I made. I made this thing the other day.
Is the president who is control.
I made a post the other day, and I want to analyze that post before getting out of here. And
I told them
that too is pointing to Barrow's. Sorry, I should have prepared and get it ready, but somewhere here. Okay, thank you. I found it. Let me give another example. Why having someone like Barrow or letting Barrow continue the problems we're gonna get here. This is about the extension of the rural electrification project. You see, Barrow meant to be a transitional government. What a transitional government does is to fix things in a way, put the foundations and everything ready, and so that we can review and do things properly. And one of these doing things properly is our industries, our economy, about how we develop and everything else. That's why we talked about a think tank and all these things. It was to do something right. You see, a country is not developed in a 5-year development plan. We have to have a generational thinking. What do we do in 50 years? Develop in 50 years. Now we break that down into the immediate, the short term, the medium, and to the long term. Now the immediate, what we priorities to take care of, to tidy up things, we do in the transition. and then that thing would give us the enabling environment, the foundations, and in the immediate would be the studies and everything we need to do and prepare to start the building process and go on. We did not do that. That's why I said we need to recalibrate. We need to bring about change December and have a government that's fit for purpose and think in intergenerationally and develop. I want to highlight this problem with NAWIC, and you'll be surprised to find out what the problems are. And I can't even go to details. I'm still doing a research on these things. And one aspect of it, actually, I cannot do a research on the entirety of the problem for NAWIC. Just one, and which is very significant because of Barrow is directly involved. But Gambians need to do that. I said our problem is incompetence and corruption, not lack of resources. That's part of the beginning of my program, my post. I woke up to see few posts trending, worth engaging. The expansion of NAWIC, raising public funds to assist the victims of the windstorm. I've noticed the donor fatigue on crowdfunding. That was going to be my second topic, but my first topic is about an expansion of NAWIC. You see, people celebrating, yeah, we have rural electrification. We all want that. We want every corner of the Gambia, but we have to do things sustainably. That's why we study stuff, comprehensive approach and stuff like that. But in this case, I said these two main topics mentioned has a problem of incompetence, corruption, and the lack of strategic planning. Problem one: expansion of NAWIC for rural electrification. We want the entire country to be electrified, but it has to be based on sustainable development by applying strategic planning, and that can be realized with the level that can be realized with the level of incompetency and corruption in the system. It cannot be. The competency that we need is not in this government. The corruption in this government, as I said, every project that Barrow goes for is for chop, and his technocrats and his people. That's why you see most of the technocrats who support the Barrow government, they want a continuity. They are okay. They have the paradigms. They have this thing. They are not feeling the pain of Gambians. They don't have the empathy. I continue and explain. This brings us to the importance of voting for the right people to manage our government affairs and ensuring we have transparency. Everything we talk about here would not matter. Why it matters is to inform us, to engage us for the peace and tranquility, but to bring about change in a democratic manner. That's why we are discussing. We cannot bring about change if we don't have the right people in government. And that's why we should take our time, engage on issues, substance, in order to find the right people, competent people, and listen to them and let them convince us those issues that our problems, how they're going to be solved. I said, number one, why expand NAWIC when they fail to deliver on their mandate for the past 5 decades? Should we not fix NAWIC problem first? NAWIC, you call it GUC, you call it MSG, you call it, a different names. It's NAWIC. Everything we tried failed. Can we not fix NAWIC problem first before we think of expanding NAWIC? No. This is what we should do first. We haven't done that. 2, is rural electrification sustainable? Was the feasibility study based on a political project with the interest of the multinational companies, a multinational company interest, giving loans, or done on a sound feasible studies for the national interest? Read the economic hitman. This is important to say. We have this rural electrification project which started with the IGM. If we review that, was it successful? No, it failed. It's not sustainable. If you generate power, you distribute power, and power get consumed, power get paid for. You make profit by taking money from the payments for the project sustainability. You pay for the capital that was raised to pay for the generators and the distributor network. And you put out money to operation to run the plant, and that's maintenance and all the thing. This is how it works. But it failed. because of there are no enough customers. If you generate, you have to distribute. If not, your energy, you have energy lost. You lost the energy. The energy you generate have to be distributed. And if it's distributed, it needed to be consumed for it to be paid for. Now, if you generate and you don't even have an effective transmissions, what you do, you lost the transmission, and that lost and generation and through the transaction lost and not consumed, because there's not enough people that consume. There's no industries or anything that use the electricity. It's not sustainable. You don't gain money from it. You don't make profit. You start to have problem of what? Operations. You're not enough money to operate. You cannot pay for the capital that you raise. Now, who guaranteed that capital is government? Government started to pay NAWEC debts. That's why government keep on paying NAWEC debts. It's not sustainable. Now, another thing you factor is the corruption within the operations. That's why you need to fix NAWEC. Fix NAWEC in a way that it will operate with less corruption, with efficiency, capacity. People that can calculate and do things. That's one. Now, it failed. Why it failed? We had Bara, we had all those places had the electricity. It failed. And what happened? That's replaced with what Senegal now giving us energy. What happened with all those generators? What happened with all that project? How much of money? Then when we did the feasible studies, it wasn't right for the sake. But no, it was a political project to say that I electrify this place. If people are bothered, they need electricity. But if you do your feasibility study, you see what sort of electricity should I give them? At some areas, it might be coming. You do it in a way that is sustainable. They can be used, but not this way. Fossil fuel, generate, distribute. They cannot consume it. What do they have? They don't have businesses. They don't have this. Every business they have jai ice or jai no. And you check how much you pay for the electricity and everything. You cannot jai ice even to make profit. So you get that jai ice doesn't work. You see, these are not. We cannot base our electric consumption on jai ice. We need to create industries. Be it small, be it whatever it is. I mean, we should build something to go with it. That's why you need a feasibility study, you need a strategic development to do that. It failed. And then why expand NAWEC? But it's a political project. I said something. Again, read the economic hitman. Is it to the interest of Gambia, national interest, or political interest, political capital, and the multinational that give out the loans? People that came across a book called The Economic Hitman. This was an expert friend who worked for the World Bank and all these multinational agencies, and decided to write a book and explain how these agencies are responsible for our underdevelopment. He explained the projects that he have involved in the Far East, in Africa and other places. These gigantic elephant projects, this electricity, these things, everything based on dodgy figures. Because they want the Africans, the underdeveloped countries, to be dependent on loan and grants for their so that they will control. The politicians will be controlled, the country will be controlled. This is what the economic hitman is. You can Google that. So most of these projects are that. You need competent government to engage the multinational companies to make it sustainable. You think they love us? The Chinese love us? You need the European love us, the Arab love us, and all this, but they love us to be giving us things? No. It's a business. That's why I said. But we need a competent government to do that. I went on to say, who is going to pay for the high energy costs? Even the privileged few can hardly pay the cost of consuming energy. Research the effect of energy poverty. Where are the industries to consume the energy generated if the locals can't afford to buy the power supply? Strategic development would have ensured we have sustainable development. The energy is so expensive in the Gambia, and you can qualify to say energy poverty. That means that if you look at the income of people, how much of their disposable income goes to energy, pay for electricity and water? How much? How many people can afford that? Even the so-called middle class in the Gambia are struggling for that. And still they are not having the supplies they need. The Gambian businesses cannot pay. Gambian businesses are not a problem even to expand or invest in Gambian. Anything that deals with electric, it's a problem because of it's not viable. Your prices cannot be. You'll be producing at a very high cost. You cannot compete with things coming from Taiwan, Japan, and other, China, India, and other places because of the cost of production, because of electricity. Now, if these people, privileged people, middle class, industries cannot afford, you think our rural people can? I'm done. They will turn around to say, Benne, why can we worry you am wahumako? If you do your studies, you look at many ways to do it. There are countries in India, there is something called communal energy supply. The energy is owned by the people, society. That community own the energy. And it's sustainable. Might be a solar plant. They pay for it. They capital investment. They pay for it. They use it. They have their meters. But anything they consume and pay for, there's no profit going to anybody. All the profit is plowed into the community. Why can't we think different? Why do we do things the same way they want us to do it? If we want to develop, we have to practice best practice. There's many ways we can do this. The ownership would be the people. These are poor communities, and development will start from there. Then the farmers can start to use electric to do lots of other things. They can have small scale industry to do things. But no, it's not sustainable. That's what I mean. And I went on to say, why were the results from the first phase of the rural electrification project unveiled by Jammeh? Why are the what were the results? I mean to say, what were the results? Did they go and study the expansion, what they've done already, the failures and so on before they expand again? No. I'll tell you what's wrong with here. I continue to say, if we continue doing the same and expect a different results, that is the definition of stupidity. And I went on to say, this represented some of my argument as a lay person. As a lay person, I'm not an expert in this, but just thinking about this is what I think. And I think that someone with a passion for development, someone that have background for development, someone that understands these things would come out and have a discussion. We need to discuss these things. We lay people cannot continue to discuss these things and a vacuum in there. We just ask him. Ben Swara is not an expert in this. But you don't have to be an expert to be concerned or to ask critical questions. That's why I put it in the question form. Do you know what I know about these projects? Do you remember that the $35 million is paid into the Farmata Barrow account and it disappeared to Barrow? That was paid by a Chinese company. That Chinese company won a contract. You see? Corruption. Now, do we expect that Chinese company to do a good job? Just ask Hadim Gang and others. Once you pay bribes and people pay bribes, they will not give you the job that you want. And this is the thing undermining our development, this corruption, and Barrow as the head of it. Why are we not holding him to that? And do we think it's only 35 million? You know, in corruption, that's what we call structuring. Because if you have to wire 100 million, my risk alarming bells, what they do, transfer 35 million, transfer another 35 million, transfer 10 million. They structure it. Probably it's more than that. But that's only one we detected. Then tell you there are others. Most of the contracts given out by Barrow, or almost contract given by Barrow, is based on corruption. Now, if we vote this person in after December, we just say this, we are okay, we are happy what you do. That's what it means, that's the approval. And then he'll do more. And you think that is sustainable? Think about this, Gambia. And these are the things we expect our politicians to go and tell people. We don't need to know your tribe. We don't need to know about these things. We don't need to know about insults. Let the idiots insult. Let them insult themselves. If we don't give them regards, that's there's something insult. Come, bring your people out. Tell us the difference you can make in Gambian, to Gambians. Tell us, point to the problems that we can see and tell us how you're going to solve that. That's not the only thing. You see, Barrow is telling you, or some of the problems with Narek, they're literally bankrupt. because of the corruption. 40%, I think, I am not very sure, but around 40% of NAWEC consumption is on petrol. The energy, fuel, lubricants, and fuel itself. And it's where the biggest corruption is. Right now, the person delivering this contract to NAWEC, I just forget the name, I don't have time to look for the name, because I'm doing my research, have been selected by Barrow in their so-called competitive bidding. The person doesn't have capacity even to deliver, but he is using existing companies that are denied to deliver for him to deliver, and that's where the corruption is. Now, if I'm finished with the details, I will bring out all the side of the corruption. 40% of their operational cost. That's one bit. Do you know the other cost? Part of what goes to spare parts, and the corruption in the spare parts, and the corruption of importing the spare parts on duty waiver. If NAWEC order 2 million worth of spare parts, it's going to be put a container that have content of 5 million. The 3 million is owned by somebody else to bring into the country without paying duty. It's happening. That's what is happening now. It's entirely corrupt institution. It's not going to be sustainable. I said it here when they have an additional generator. I said it's not going to be working. That the problem is not generating capacity only. It's about management and corruption. And Barrow is the most corrupt, and he's the one facilitating corruption. And do you know part of the fuel corruption? They are using substandard fuel. They have so much sulfur. And what is that doing is wearing out the parts, spare parts. If you would need 2 months to do a maintenance with that amount of sulfur in the petrol, it's cheap. But that it's should take you 1 month to do a maintenance. But they cannot go and do a 1 month maintenance because of what? They have to ground the machines, and they don't want to ground the machines. That's why they're not telling you the truth when there's no electric or there's no power. They don't tell you the truth. Now the new machines, they are overusing them. They are due for maintenance, but they are not grounding them down. They're not. They're pushing them, and hoping it will hold. And this is what will break the machines. And all is about corruption. Thank you, guys. I'm just to bring this, and I hope these are the topics we're going to talk about and move away from these insults and nonsense. Don't be distracted. If you believe in the democracy, we have a democracy. Let's work on this democracy. Let Barrow keep on coming out and talk about substance. Let him talk about projects, and so we go all over it, and we'll go after everything. But he will run again. If we come out and say all these things, this was a PR exercise because of to turn the tide. It cannot be turned because everything he said, we can debunk it, and we'll go through it and debunk others. Thank you very much, guys. It's been a long one. I never wanted it to be a long one. I'll do the summarizing for this program next time around. I mean, as I said, I will always be tired by this time, but if I start, I'll do the sum up for other people to catch up. Thank you.